Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to SPA's Authors Academy podcast. I have a great friend here, Ron Essex. We've been knowing each other for over 45 years. I've had a chance to meet his beautiful wife, LaVon, and his grandkids, his son. We rode motorcycles together.
Oh, that's right.
He is just a wonderful man that I've had a chance to be blessed to meet. But it is a privilege to interview one of the SPA's contributors of the newly released 2021 collaboration book, Live Your Best Life. And I am honored as my guest, Ron Essex, author, has an upcoming book, I Heard It, They Said It. Wow, Ron, that's an awesome phrase there. But before we actually get right into this, Ron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here. Thanks, David. I'm even more honored to be interviewed by you, my brother. We have clearly going back, I said 30 years, but you said 45. So yeah, we've been around a long time together. So it's an honor to be interviewed by you because I'm comfortable talking with you. So, but listen, my name is Ron Essex. For everyone who don't know me, I'm a 29-year veteran firefighter with the Chicago Fire Department. I had a great career there from fighting fires, and then I moved on into the bureau, as they call it, as a fire inspector, then moved on to as a local fire marshal. I had some great years there, and my most enjoyable time was actually being a part of the presidential detail, where I worked very closely with Secret Service, and getting to meet presidents and dignitaries like President Clinton, Representative from China, Barack Obama on several occasions. The late Colin Powell, I was able to actually talk with him. So I've had a great time with the department. But I moved on from there and started a non-for-profit organization, and it's called Bridge Builders. And now I'm preaching to the choir here because David's very familiar with my non-for-profit because he happened to be one of the best presidents we've ever had. And he's I actually city board president for my non-for-profit Bridge Builders. And what we basically do is provide housing for homeless military vets who've served this country in any capacity and find themselves back homeless at some point in time. It can come from drugs or alcohol, and it's usually end result from PTSD, something that they've seen or they may have done. And I know from years on the fire department how PTSD can be very prominent in someone who has the capacity of doing it like a soldier's job. But what drew me to that real quickly, if I can just still a minute, is that I was at a Purple Heart ceremony that was being hosted by Tammy Duckworth. And she was giving this gentleman a Purple Heart. I don't know the gentleman. I was happened to been there. And it wasn't so much his Purple Heart that bothered, that aroused me, is his backstory of how he came back with PTSD and how his wife didn't understand. And he ended up getting a divorce from her, being separated from his children, ended up becoming basically homeless. And when I heard his story and saw what he was going through, that at that point in time, Dave, is where Bridge Builders was born. I said, I want to dedicate, I was already an investor. I was already invested in real estate and doing different things, buying and selling and flipping. But I said, at this point, I want to do a service-oriented business where we could provide permanent housing for some of these guys who've gone and protected the very streets that we have to walk on. And they have to come on back and because of circumstances end up sleeping on. So that was my dedication to doing that. And it was Michelle Obama who launched, her with Jill Biden actually launched a program called From Homelessness to Home Ownership. So what we're striving to do at Bridge Builders is to come up with a program where we can get these gentlemen and women from being homeless and provide them with a place to permanently live, their own home. So that's what we're striving to do. I've already had one successful tenant to have done that, has done that. They've actually gone from homelessness from a shelter to now owning a beautiful home in the south side of Chicago. So we're trying to do more things like that. So I love being a part of it. I'm honored to have David as my board president, and we're doing well with it. But the last thing about myself I want to mention is I'm so proud and so excited about my new upcoming book called I Heard It, They Said It. And it is a book that covers a large genre of topics about quotes that are sayings or spiritual thoughts that I've heard that you'd be surprised where they came from and who said them. So, I mean, it goes a large genre. So I'm excited about that. I'm almost done with the book, and I guess that's why we're here to talk about it a little bit. So that's a little bit about Ron.
Ron, you've been involved, you've met a lot of important people. I see. You wouldn't happen to get any autographs by any chance as you put this up?
Unfortunately, no. I was working with Secret Service, so they would have frowned on that a little bit.
And then as a fire marshal and the things you went through, I'm sure that you have experienced some dramatic things that can kind of touch you. How did you kind of not have to deal with the PTSD that you may have experienced?
Well, I was born and raised in the church, man. And when you talk about faith, having trust in God, I believe I was there for a reason. God selected me because I didn't have automatic support. I didn't know anybody in politics in the city to get me on the job. I just trusted God. And when I would see a situation that's very, very traumatic, I'd have to I'm human like anyone else. And it would bother me sometimes for days, weeks, or months. But I was able to sustain, and I had my trust and faith in God. So he helped me to overcome it and not get bogged down with that and go on and be sure I'm available to help the next person. So that's how that works. Yeah.
All right. Well, share with us what inspired you to actually write this type of a book.
Well, Dave, here's what happened. I was reared from the age of 7 in the church. I know when you and I had a previous interview with you, you mentioned the same thing, how you were raised in the church. And I went to different departments in the church, but they finally asked me to be a church clerk. It scared me. Most women do church clerks. They don't have very many men, but they said they want to make something a little different, a little change. So I was a church clerk for years. But what I would do behind every time I would finish giving the church's official business, I would always conclude with a spiritual thought. And those spiritual thoughts got to be so well known that oftentimes I would get an applaud after giving the announcements. And no one gets over who applauds for the church clerk, So it got crazy. And then when I would come down off of the pulpit, oftentimes people would raise their hands and say, hey, listen, can I get a copy of that? Can I get a copy of that? Over the years, I started accumulating these and I got engulfed with them. Every time I hear a thought or a cliche or quote, I would jot it down. And over the years, that just accumulated to end up with hundreds of them, several hundreds of quotes and thoughts. And I decided to listen. I need to have these. Since I'm no longer the clerk of the church, I need to share these. So that is where the book came to be. I heard it, they said it, and it's also a switch to a hook to it, because the interesting part about this, these quotes, Dave, is you're going to be amazed at where they came from and who said them. They're not the most common quotes, and they don't come from the most common people. So I think that's going to be an added attraction to the book.
Okay. I understand that you had a battle with cancer, and I think you say here that you discovered many things about yourself. What were some of the things you discovered about yourself in that battle with cancer?
Dave, going back to even when on the fire department, you'll be amazed and surprised at the inner strength that you have, that you don't believe that you do. There were situations and circumstances I found myself in on the department that I didn't believe that I was going to be able to get out of there or get away from it. And I found that inner strength inside of it. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, it would take us too long to go and describe how it was you were so instrumental in me going to make sure that I was check myself up, make sure I get checkups, because it was you that was ill at one point. And when you were very ill, I remember visiting you in the hospital, and you said to me, make sure, Ron, you get yourself checked out. And at that juncture, at that point, when I went and got myself checked up, is where we discovered the cancer. So I owe so much to you, David, for what you did for me, just giving me that suggestion and me being obedient to the Holy Spirit and go getting it done. So, but when I found that I had the cancer, it was a well-renowned philosopher. His name was Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he made a quote. He said, "When you look at things differently, the things you look at appear to change." And I'm not paraphrasing what he said. He said, "When you look at a problem a different way, it seemed to look different." And I had addressed cancer that same way. I didn't look at cancer as a cancer with a big C. I looked at cancer with a small c. And now I'm not afraid of it. It doesn't frighten me. As a matter of fact, it's giving me energy. is giving me fire. As a matter of fact, I see in my mind's eye, I'm dragging cancer along with me. I mean, I'm dragging it. Because I say, I'm not going to sit back and let you do anything to me. You got to keep up with me or catch me if you want to get me. So that's kind of how I did it. And that's all a byproduct of the inner strength that not only I have, I think everyone has, especially if you put your trust and faith in God, he'll show it to you.
It's amazing how God caused my kidneys to fail and then rejuvenate itself for me to tell you to get yourself checked out. So how God used me to make sure that you took a look at you within you.
Amen. Amen. Because I'm gonna tell you, Dave, when I would go and see I was praying and fearful because you were going through dialysis, you were going through all of these things, man. And I was so concerned about you. I said, oh, God, we can't lose this guy, you know? And when you said that, go have yourself checked out. I said, God, I'm going. I'm not going. If this brother tell me I'm going, you know, even to put his mind at peace. And it was then when I discovered that I heard those words. Yeah, yes, you have cancer. So, but God is good, bro. And I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there all the way. You know. And let me just say one before we go a little further. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention of what really inspired me to try to write this type of book, because I'm interested in investing in something that will outlast me. And a book will outlast me. The non-for-profit we're doing for the homeless will outlast me. And I heard that was the actual definition of a purpose-driven life. When you invest your time and yourself into something that is bigger than you, that will outlast you, it's worth it. So that's part of the reason why I wrote this book. Hopefully my children's children will be able to read this book. Somebody somewhere at some point in time is going to pick up this book, and it's going to hopefully be a blessing to them.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan, because I'm looking here when you quote here a definition of a purpose-driven life.
Amen.
That's a powerful statement. Powerful statement.
Yes, and that's part of what's driving me. That's part of what is my motivation, my drive, is to be able to do something that will outlast me. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Do you have a favorite quote in this book, and then why?
Dave, you know what? Picking a favorite quote from this book is like selecting one of your children, your favorite children. And we know we all don't have that. Well, yes, I do, but that's going to get me in trouble, but that's okay. But, you know, it's hard to pick just one. But there is one by Jennifer P. Harris, and I love what she says. She says, always listen to your elders, not because they're always right, but because they've had more experience of being wrong. I love that. And this is Jennifer P. Harris who said this. Listen to the definition itself is inspiring. Children need to understand that. And not only children, Dave, we as adults need to listen to our elders. Because they've been wrong way more than we have. And we've had our mouths of being wrong and being incorrect, even to our own children. So there's such an honor should be given to our elders. They've seen more, they know more, they've been through more. And we need to listen to them more, you know, listen to them often. And so that one stands out more. That one stands out quite a bit to me. And there's one more that stands out. Dave, is one from my father. Believe it or not, my father was an alcoholic, my dad. And my father told me one time in his more drunken state, he said, let me tell you something, boy. He said, cheap is expensive. That goes for cars, clothes, and women. Cheap is expensive. So I have dedicated my life to what my dad says. I don't buy no car that's cheap. I don't buy clothes that's cheap, and I don't deal with cheap women because they are expensive in the long run. So that's also one of my favorite quotes from the book that was given to me by my dad.
Right. Listening to your adults.
Now, let me go back a little bit because you broke up a little bit there, and I didn't hear your question.
Oh, give me 3 examples when you say listen to your elders, not because they were always right, but because they're always wrong. Give me 3 examples to clarify that.
Well, first one would be that our children nowadays, our young people that we have nowadays, which is why we in the state of problems that we're having right now, is that our younger children are being raised by children. You know, we have young adults here trying to raise children. And those young kids don't have, those young parents don't have the experience to raise
Mhm.
young women and young men. And that's why our criminal system right now is filled with young men over the age of 18 years old. So there's one area where I think they need to listen to more to their elders, trust their elders to help raise these young children. I would step further and say we as adults, we need to listen more to our elders as we try to rear our children. Again, like I mentioned before, they have been down the road that we haven't even traveled yet, in helping us to rear better children and make better decisions for ourselves. And the last example I would love to, I could think about is if, and again, we're not trying to make this a church setting, but since this is a place I come from, listen to our adults, our elders in the church. There's some of them are more spiritually founded and grounded. Our pastors, our elders, we need to listen to them. Let them share the wisdom that God has given them over the many years. And if we all did that, my gosh, we'd be in a completely better place, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. Could you enlighten anything like on financial decisions? A lot of times our elders or our parents didn't know about financing. What would you say about that?
In regards to, well,
Advice to our youth or just moving forward, even adults.
yeah, well, the thought that comes to my mind is I remember an old cliche given by about an older man. I've heard him say, "A penny saved is a penny earned," and there's nothing wrong with that advice. I think that's great advice and great counsel. But nowadays, especially dealing with COVID and job lays off and the economy being what it is, I think a penny saved or invested is a penny earned. But that would be my thought. The transition of change from elders, because it fit well at their time. But as we go into a different era in this world's history, we need to find people or elders that are more, are more savvy, financially savvy today to listen to, as far as making investments and things of that nature. And sometimes some of our older seniors maybe don't really know that much about it because this wasn't in their era. So we must move with the changing times and find those people who know a little bit more than you do and can probably take you a little bit further.
Okay. What type of audience would you say would benefit mostly from your book?
Oh man, listen, this book to me is a great book for people who need a little extra push. When I was dealing with the radiation, when I was dealing with the chemotherapy, there were times that I just didn't feel very good at all. It's designed to make you not feel well. And I would open up my list of quotes. Dave, I would sit there and before I knew it, I'd run across one that would make me laugh. One where that would make me smile. Well, man, the one that would just completely take me away from the thought of cancer or the thought of chemo and I'm having a heat attack from it. It was Nietzsche, a Oriental philosopher who once said, "If you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow." So I have to ask myself, Ron, why are we going through this? Where's your strength coming from? How are you standing? And it helped me get to where I'm trying to go, which is get over the episode of what the chemo is doing to me. Now, also, this is good for someone who just want to share an encouraging word for someone else. They find someone who's going through dire problems. In my book, I mentioned one of the worst things that we run across is surprise. That's one of the worst things in the world for most people is a surprise. So this book would be great to someone who just encountered a surprise. It could be good or bad, and they can share this with them. Also, lastly, I think this would be great for people who just got some great news, who just want to continue to experience that high of feeling good. This is a great book to pick up and start reading. I can think of 2 times is the best time to read my book. One when you feel like it and one when you don't. So that's a good time to read my book.
Wow. And Ron, I agree with you so heartily because, like you say, you do find people in a stage where that uplifting word, that uplifting of encouragement, when they don't know where to get it from, to go through your book and just hear that, read it, and soak it in. It's just amazing. What advice would you have someone who actually wants to start writing a book?
Well, again, in our other segment, Dave, when I would ask you that same question, I'm gonna borrow some things that you said. Listen, if there's something you have that you're passionate about, if there's something that just bothers you, there's something that keeps you awake at night, things you think of when you're in your most common state, or something that may have happened to you, or being molested, or you want to share this thought with someone else to help them not to get in that same problem. If there's something that's like that you encounter, like, or it's something beautiful, a beautiful place that you've been to, and you just want to share that with people. If you can carry the compassion and willing to do the discipline and to write it down. Dr. Wilkins would just hammer that to me when I was going through the issue with my chemotherapy and stuff. He said, man, listen, write this down. Don't let it commit it to memory. And he was so true when he said that. So anyone who's willing to put in the discipline and put in the time that needed to go into it, and they're very diligent about it, I am comfortable that, lastly, get into an organization like SPAS, Professional Speakers and Authors Association. Join like-minded people who've also written books, who can show you the road. SPA is a fantastic and great place to be. Find a chapter near you, join that group, bring your works to them, let them take a look at it and talk about your dreams and goals and passions, and it'll help you move forward. If you do all that and you're committed to it, Dave, I believe the book will find them instead of them searching for the book.
I wholly agree with you. It sometimes you find so many people who will let a person vent, but just don't know how to respond to them. So they just sit in silence. But I believe a book like yours, Ron, would just open up so many ideas to say, hey, read this book, or go to this page and read what this will say. It will just help them to help that other person actually relieve some tension.
That's very true.
When do you expect this book to actually come out?
I'm in the final stages of the book. Dr. Book is going to wring my neck because we're supposed to have got this done already. But I'm just at the page, a cover design, and one or two more small items on it, and it should be out sometime in mid-January. It's going to be out for release. And I'm going to encourage and hopefully everyone just pick it up and read it. The collaboration book that we just did is a great copy as well. It talks about all the other officers with SPA who are part of the collaboration book. And there's excerpts of my book in this book as well. But so you can pick this copy up if you want. I think you would get a chance to hear some excerpts, read some excerpts from my book, and also hear about other great authors as well that participated. And hopefully my book will be out about mid-January. And I hope someone goes out and picks it up and buys it and enjoy it.
Okay, what's the price on that book there? Live Your Best Life.
This Live Your Best Life price is $19.95. And if you can go on to the website for SPA and see if you can pick up one there. Contact myself or Dr. Wilkins and be able to get it. Proceeds from my book that I'm selling is part of the proceeds are going to the non-for-profit to help bridge builders, our homeless veterans. So part of my proceeds from my book goes to help our homeless veterans as well. So it's a very good reason to buy the book and pick it up if you just in case you want to support some of those who can't afford to pay you back. I look at that way. It's the best blessing in the world to help someone who can't pay you back. So that's the good reason to pick up this book.
Wow. Well, I heard it. They said it. Ron, it's an honor and a privilege to sit here and talk with you, man, and hear the things that you're doing and the people you're reaching, our veterans that you're reaching out to. Man, in closing, Ron, like I say, we go back so far. And
yeah, we do. Too far.
And the journey that we are actually going, and I do believe because of the fight that we have within us,
yes,
and the things that you're going through yourself, you're going to reach a lot of people, because a lot of people who are fighting cancer kind of just sit and just wait for their life to pass.
Absolutely.
But not you. Your energy, you're energized. You
absolutely
enthusiastic. When it's time to go motorcycle ride, you trying to set the team up to get that last ride.
Yeah, we like riding the bikes. We like having a good time riding our motorcycles. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And I'm David Williams, the host for the SPA Academy. And it's just a pleasure to sit here and talk with you, Ron. And I know that we're going to do some great things.
Continue to do it. I love you, my brother. Appreciate you.
I love you, Ron.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay,
everybody.
sir.